Okay, we're good.
Good afternoon. I'm Gloria Nelson with TUG. And as you settle in and get ready for the start of today's webinar program, let me give a brief introduction for TUG, the usergroup.org, for both our current members and for those of you who represent organizations that have not yet joined our online community of Infor distribution software users. We've all heard that phrase, knowledge is power, and I can say with confidence and conviction that after today's presentation, you'll be waking up tomorrow with a little more of both. Today is but one presentation in our robust calendar of content we're sharing throughout the year. TUG webinars, online forums, and member events facilitate the timely exchange of ideas and information to help you work smarter and with more confidence. And that is a powerful combination. If you're currently a member, it pays to get even more involved. And if you're not, please visit our website to discover why 2,300 heads are better than one to help you be the best at what you do. And now it is our pleasure to welcome everyone to the TUG Connects 365 TWL ERS review. Andy Weith and Gord Crober join us today as they blaze through the ERs in the pipeline. Guys, I'm turning things over to you now.
Thanks, Gloria. My name is Gord Crober. Most folks call me Gord. I'm the WMS network leader with TUG. Some of you perhaps have met me out in various conferences, either on site or when we've had our spring get-togethers. Definitely encourage everybody to use their cameras. I know it can be tough to do, but I'm better with faces than I am with names to put things together. So that would be a plus for me. I'm on the east coast of Canada in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Andy's in Portland, Oregon, I do believe. So we're 4 time zones apart, but hopefully we've got a smattering of folks across continental US and Canada. I kind of doubt we have any Europeans here today, but sometimes we do have that. Gloria talked a little on the Zoom. We're doing this as a new experience versus a go-to webinar. Those have their advantages, but they don't allow what we hope will be a good dialogue with everybody. It's a small crew today, so I think anytime anyone wants to chip in, please do. You can just hit your space bar like Gloria said, or unmute yourself and chime in with any points. You might even disagree with something we say and you want to correct us. But we have Andy Weith, who's the founder of ASW Global Consulting, wealth of experience in warehouse management systems. Him and his team been all around doing implementations for years. So he knows a ton of stuff, and sometimes I can add something he doesn't think of, or maybe even doesn't know, but it doesn't happen too often. And Andy is my best American friend. We want to add that in there. So okay, so these ERs, we review them a few times a year when there's enough to make for one of these sessions. It's the voice that the users have and the members of TUG have with Infor to get changes made in the software. Now that it's Cloud Suite, my own company's not on the cloud just yet, but the ERs will apply on that version. So those that are running current can see changes made. Those that are running older versions that hope to have features put in when they upgrade, they have a voice as well. Speaking of the voice, it's only a voice if we get the votes. So please follow along, please vote. Andy will talk a little bit about endorsements, rejections, acknowledgements. Sounds like my dating life in university. Anyway, no, but these are ERs. So he'll go over that and you can follow along, make comments on, if you're running 2 screens here, you can follow along with your own sign in to the ER system. What else? He'll talk a little on that submission, some best practices if you do an ER. If folks are going to the trouble of writing up an ER, I highly recommend you socialize it, put it on the TUG forum. You'll get more votes that way and more visibility. What else did I jot down here? I might make a few points later, but I think that's about it. So without much more delay, I think I'll turn it over to you, Andy. Andy's going to bring up his screen. That will be the concierge with Infor, and specifically the enhancement request system that he'll I think you're going to start and take people through that, Andy. So turn it over to you.
Right on. You can hear me, yeah?
Yes, we can.
Okay. You'll have to forgive me. I have a machine with a broken video that has to remain at this angle to function over here, and another machine with broken audio, and a third one on the way that was supposed to be delivered yesterday. Got delayed in transit. I'm sure you're all used to that, and hopefully will arrive today. So I'm working off 2 different machines. This will be fun. I'm going to probably reiterate a couple things that Gord said as well. But I do have a little checklist here before we start digging into the actual requests. Just some basics. How do we get there? What does this stuff mean? How does it work? All that jazz. So if you're on CSD or web, you already have and should be familiar with the little grid or waffle menu up here, right? And this is how you would access the enhancements portal. So hopefully you can find your way there. It should look something like this. If you're not on web or CSD, you're still graphical or on-premise or even character, you should still have access to the enhancement request system through the Infor support portal, which has recently changed their web address. Hopefully you know all that stuff as well. But once you're here, we want to talk about navigating here a little bit. The product is where we want to put in TWL, and there has been a little bit of, that's the wrong machine. There has been a little bit of cleanup in here before. There were 3 options before, now there's 2. We're trying to consolidate these down. But if you put in TWL, you'll see both of the options available. Check both those, then you'll get all the enhancement requests, TWL specific. Before I do that, you can see in the background, I have some of these that are in blue, right? So those are saying this is new, you haven't clicked on this yet. If I go into the TWL ones, the blue is gone, right? And that means I've already gone in and looked at these, right? So they're not new to me anymore. You do have to be licensed for the product to see the enhancement requests for this. So if you're not a current licensed TWL user, you're not going to see these. The same thing for Burst or whatever other modules of SX are in here. If you don't use value add or something like that, then you wouldn't be seeing those enhancement requests either. We do want to go through the workflow in here, and I think what's our first one that we need to cover? 59419. This one. So I'm going to go to one of the ones that we covered on our last meeting. We'll just talk about the mechanics in here. So you see at the top, right under this enhancement request, there's endorsements, rejections, and acknowledgements. And this is what we're going to encourage you to do today. Please get logged in, follow along, vote on these as we're going through them. And you're going to choose one of these 3 options. And to put it plainly, endorsement says, yeah, let's do this. I stand behind this. Here's my vote. Please make the change. A rejection means not that this is a bad idea, please don't do it, but rather this is going to break something for me, right? So maybe we just need to change it. And when you vote, you're welcome to put an explanation in there as well. Hey, the way that you're outlining this, if you make that change, that's going to break something for me. If it was done in a different way, then I'd give it the thumbs up, but it can't be designed like that, right? And then acknowledgements is just, yeah, I see what you're going for. It doesn't really apply to me. We don't do that thing, or I don't care about that so much. I don't want to put my vote behind it. Gord and I had a little brief email chat this week, and one of the things that was pretty clear is there's not a lot of votes. And this one in particular, again, we went over this. I think our last meeting was like 3 months ago or something like that. It's got 3 votes. So this doesn't mean very much to Infor. It doesn't say, whoa, we should really do this. A lot of people are asking for it. We want to see some bigger numbers in there. And Gord, I don't know, did you find out, are we still, is that number in the sand 5?
I think it might be even 10. I've reached out to Tony Kennedy on that. Whether they take pity on TWL, I kind of doubt it.
Yeah.
But it's a reasonably high bar.
Okay. So Gloria was nodding her head too. So we can circle back with Gary and them and see it. And Tony will answer if there truly is a line in the sand. But then again, it's certainly up to Infor to decide anyway. Something could have 57 votes and they still say, no, we don't want to do that. Or something has 0 votes and they decide it's good for the product, so they're going to build it in anyway. But this is, like Gord said, using our power as part of the TUG community to get behind something and say, yes, we all want this. So please make it happen. let's see my other notes here. Right, approve, reject. When filling one of these out, we'll see one that hasn't been voted on yet, but there's different sections in here, summary, workaround, and proposed solution. The way to think about this is the least amount of information should probably be in the proposed solution. What you want to be filling out is the summary, the explanation, the business case, why this is a problem, not spending all your time trying to figure out what the solution is, right? Infor might take your input on the proposed solution. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. This is how we could do it. But they have said it's ultimately up to them to decide how it gets done in the software. So state the case. This doesn't work for me. We'd like to see this additional functionality. Put your effort into explaining why it's a big deal that it's not in there or it doesn't work that way. Provide any workarounds if you have them, and certainly, put a lot of tone behind. We have a workaround, but it sure is not fun. It would be better if it was working this way instead. But I just want to mention that too, because a lot of folks, a little bit of information goes into the summary. Hey, it'd be great if you could input the number of labels you want to print. We're going to see something like that. And then the proposed solution is 6 paragraphs. Try and maybe flip that upside down. All right, I'm lingering here. We put this in, and then this is not the end of it. Gord mentioned this as well. So after you create the enhancement request, get out to the TUG forum, the TUG community site, and post it out here. You'll see one here. Here's this enhancement request that I created. Include a link directly back to it so folks don't have to go search and find it. They can click right on it and go give it their thumbs up, right? And folks are carrying on a discussion here, but we, like Gord said, we want to socialize this and get it out there. Not all of us are going into the enhancement request site every Friday and seeing if there's anything new. Some of us forget all about it. So if you put it out there, I get the message, ooh, that's a good idea. I'm going to click on the link and vote on it, right? The last suggestion I wanted to make was to go ahead and feel free to ask the community ahead of time. And a lot of folks do this, not just should this be an enhancement request, but does anyone know how to do this? Over the past couple webinars we've done, there has been standard functionality to do a number of the enhancement requests. So rather than you waiting for an enhancement that's never going to come, share with the community, and I'm sure you'll get feedback. Oh, it already does that. It's under this menu option, or you need to hit this special shortcut key that you didn't know was there. Maybe. Hopefully that'll make sense. All right. So we have, I think, 8 or so to go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 8 to go through. So we're going to run through all these. And Gord was kind enough to prep some notes for me ahead of time if I get stuck on anything. But so here's our first one. 59419, and hopefully you're following along. So the title here is TWL receipt does not allow user to enter the expiration date for the batch number. So if you're familiar with the functionality with or without lot control, I assume the batch number is what we're talking about, lot control. There's also an expiration date, and there's some calculation in there where you can enter in a manufacturer date and calculate the number of days to expire the product after that. So this doesn't sound lot controlled though. This sounds like in general. So I don't know if Mark is on our call today, or I don't know if you see him on there.
No, I don't think so.
I think we need some more explanation for this, or if anyone on the call is familiar with this. But that's really how I understand it. If you're just receiving normal non-lot controlled material, there's a date of receipt that gets applied to the inventory. Once you're doing something that is lot controlled, there is some additional functionality where you can say the material expires 365 days from now or 3 months from now. So this one I'm a little bit unclear on. We need to circle back with Mark.
We had another one too back in the summer. Was done up in the spring, but it related to expiration date as well. Didn't get too many votes, but seems to be a repeating theme.
What is the easiest way to navigate? I really don't like navigating here. I'm just going to go back to the list. So 59,718 is the next one in here. This is label printing functionality. This is also from Mark. They want to add a label size 4x6 to item label print. And so can we print bigger labels essentially? And the default label size that comes out of TWL when you're doing receiving is a 4x2, right? So can you add that as some functionality? Completely agree with this. It's really limited functionality with the label sizes. There are some defaults in there as a workaround using the lift to go to the top rack. As a workaround in the software, just because it says a given size doesn't mean you can't change the label that is actually printing. So it's fairly commonplace to say, we're not ever going to print a 4x2 label. We want 4x6s. And so if you're utilizing Unibar or some other program that integrates label printing with TWL, you can just program the label printing software to understand that when TWL requests a 4x2, it really means a 4x6, and voila, you'll get your big labels. But you certainly won't be able to bounce back and forth and say, I want a little label now and a big label for a different one. So this is a great suggestion. I'll go on to the next one here, and then I think we'll pause for any questions or comments on anything we've gone over. So this is 60353, provide setting to activate and inactivate, adding additional items in pick in TWL RF. So this is from Eric with Acumen, and hopefully you're aware of this, but there is functionality in TWL to not just pick what's on the order, but also add things on the fly. There is some control where there's the product category list in TWL, and you can say yes or no by product category. You can add new lines to orders, but there's no control over who can do it or can't do it. And I believe that is part of what we're saying here. Comments on the puller essentially add whatever they choose. Add a parameter to enable disable functionality, set a limit by product category. That is there. And this is one I think we're going to take note of and dig into this and show everyone how this works. And we'll post it out to the community site 60353.
Yeah, I for one was surprised to learn this, Andy. I did not know this. It actually worried me if my team ever learns that they can add things to an order. So I can understand the concern.
Right. And it sounds like whoever Acumen was working with by default, they had every product category enabled, but we'll include some screenshots and show you guys on the community site. You basically turn on whatever product categories you want and say you can add lines that for products that are in this product category. But once it's on, I'm 99% sure it's on for everybody. So you can't just say my one special picker. You can't say just for warehouse transfers and not for sales orders or anything like that. The flexibility is not there. So the basic foundational, yeah, we need to add lines was there, but that's about as far as the functionality was taken. No one brought the rest of those details into it. All right, so let's take a pause here. Does anyone have any questions or feedback? Again, this is for you guys. We want to make sure you're getting the most out of this. So we've toyed with things like, should we have TWL up on screen right now and actually dig into these? And the concern is we could spend 15 minutes just showing any given one of these, and now the meeting turns into an hour and a half, which we don't want to put all you through that. So we're just taking notes. We'll go back, do some research, and then share with everyone. Does anyone have anything to share at this time? You can unmute yourself. Chat.
Yeah, going down the road of showing stuff on the screen would probably not be a good idea, generally.
Thanks for that, Greg. We talked about it briefly, and the way to accomplish that would be, we just have to do these more frequently. So there's only 3 of them. And then if we need to spend 10 or 15 minutes, then it's fine. But we've been waiting until there's 6, 8, 10 of them. Now we have a decent number to go through and actually spend a half an hour doing this rather than 6 minutes if there's only 1 of them. But okay, I like that vote.
And you had Brian Monday there do some stuff maybe a year or so ago, and he went through a number of different scenarios, and they were all sort of testing themed, right? And I thought that was helpful, and he sort of proved what did and didn't work, and you may remember the particulars a bit better, but that was a separate. We didn't do that as part of the ERs, or did we?
We did on one of them. Brian joined us and he did a little recap. Like the first 10 minutes was Brian going through, here were the two that we had questions. We thought there was standard functionality. It turns out there is, and here's how it works. So happy to do that as well if we'd like to. I mean, we can post it on the community site as well, but recognizing not everyone might see that, or we want to see it live in person, we can dedicate some time on the next one to go through what we find today.
That seemed to be good in that we didn't go down a rabbit hole exactly. It was, it was rehearsed, and Brian did a great job of explaining what he had done. And I thought highly of it anyway. So I know it was a time investment for him though. So it has to be warranted and justified and desired for sure to make sense.
I think I appreciate that. And we're totally behind that. I'm okay investing some time to do that stuff because, like we say, even though we do these implementations all the time and are subject matter experts, we learn something new every time as well. So digging into these, we're happy to do that because as much knowledge as we might be sharing, I'm sure we're gaining as well. So we're happy to continue to do that. All right, let's go into the next one here then. 61191. This is another label one, TWLRF, enter quantity of labels to print. This comes from David at First Supply. So if I'm printing some labels, I want to be able to print multiple copies. I'm currently required to print them individually. This doesn't say where. There certainly is functionality in some screens. Gord, I think you made a note on this one. In receiving, you receive 50 units. It will prompt you, oh, you must want to print 50 labels. Is that what you want to do? There are some other functions that folks commonly complain about. One of those is shipping container marker labels, SCM labels. And folks say, oh, I have 4 boxes here, and I go to print shipping labels and I only get 1. And the reason for that is the intended functionality is if you have 4 boxes, you have 4 carton IDs, 4 license plates in TWL. And so therefore you would print 4 unique labels, 1 for each of them. But the reality of the situation is a lot of folks don't operate that way. And I have 62 cases and I call that 1 carton. Now I have to reprint the same label 62 times, which is nonsense. So that's a pretty common modification to add a quantity to that. There are other things as well come to mind during picking. If you print a pick label, so it's like I'm picking widgets out of a box. The case has a barcode on it, but now I'm taking copper fittings out of there and I put them in a bag. Now, what is this stuff? I print a pick label, but it's 1 label for that, which makes sense for a bag of fittings. Again, doesn't make sense if it's 10 cases of something. I only get 1 label and I really need 10 and there's no functionality to do that. Again, you're back to a modification, or as David suggests here, why don't we get some more flexibility to allow our operators to decide how many labels they want when they're in those functions? Hopefully that makes sense. Cool. 61472, add locations to TWL variance report from Andrew at Barsco. So hopefully not too many of you are even doing PIs, but those have to suffer through it. There's a couple standard reports in TWL for the physical inventory. One of them compares your quantities to the quantities in SX and therefore the dollar variances as well. That's the TWL valuation report. The TWL variance report, I'm 99% sure, compares your what you counted now versus what the expected quantity was in the bin just within TWL. And the request here is, well, you don't get to see the bin locations on that report. So a lot of items that are in overstock locations or multiple locations, we don't actually know where this stuff is. You told me that I counted more or less than I needed to, but you don't tell me where that is. I'm going to write this one down because I'm honestly not that familiar with this report. We do not use, as a practice, the standard reports from TWL. There's no sorting, filtering, flexibility. It comes out in a notepad and all you can do is print it. So we always use a reporting solution to rebuild the logic and make our own report that we can export to Excel and sort and filter and do all those fun things. So I don't know this one off the top of my head, but I'm 61427. Okay. All right. Then 61474 is also from Barsco. Add description is another PI need. So to that same variance report, there's no description. I wonder if it's not even on the valuation report or any inventory report. Apparently, you run an inventory report or a PI variance report out of TWL, you get part numbers, you don't get descriptions, and that's certainly not very helpful. So I don't mean to blaze through these because the functionality and reporting for TWL is so poor. That would be what I would put in the workaround box right here for Andrew. If they have any other reporting solution, just use that in the meantime. 64043, printer per shipping station. And this comes from HD Supply. This one is also a pretty common modification for TWL. So if you're familiar with this, if you do pick to tote and then use the packing functionality, when you get your packing slip, or really this is if you pick to carton, when your packing slip comes out, either way, it is directed to a printer by the carrier, right? So UPS orders go to that printer, FedEx orders go to that printer. But maybe we only have one printer, or maybe we have 5 packers and they're doing UPS orders and FedEx orders both. I should have some flexibility in here. Can't I, as the user, the packer, select which packing slip I want my orders that I'm packing to go to, rather than the carrier determine where that goes? And so I'm sure some folks that are even on this call probably have that modification to redirect the pack slip, not by the carrier. Right on, and then one more here. What was different about this one? Infor distribution.
Oh yeah, this is a well described. Is how I might add this. There's some legal training or something in this ER.
John is an attorney, apparently.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a great one to talk about here for a minute afterwards, because we have a kind of a separate conversation going on with a bunch of companies about ASNs. But so Virginia Air, John is saying ASNs, if you're not familiar with what that is, basically the advanced shipping notice that you get from your supplier. You might have placed a purchase order and it's 100 lines and they're only shipping you 7 of those lines right now. So rather than have someone go in to receive the purchase order and find those 7 lines to receive, the ASN would show them, oh, it's only these 7 lines and these exact quantities. That's what you're expected to receive. And there's even additional functionality in there to like receive those in full, right? So I don't need to go double check all the line items because I trust my supplier. So I'm just going to say, yes, ASN 123 arrived, and just receive all that stuff and put it on the dock for me so I can put it away. What he's saying here is when we close the receipt that's associated with an ASN, it automatically closes all other ASNs. I'm going to go back to your notes on this one too.
Yeah, I didn't have much. It's a tough read.
John's not on. Can you check and see if he's on here too? We can have him speak.
I don't think. No.
So what it sounds like here is if I have multiple ASNs, or rather not multiple ASNs, but one ASN across multiple purchase orders. So let's say I have 5 purchase orders all calling for the same product, and they all call for a quantity of 5. I should just be able to go in and say, I have 25, and you lay them across all my POs for me instead of me going in and doing those one at a time. And he's noting some other issues in here where there are upload entry, multiple upload entries, and that a modification is required. I don't know, Greg, we might have to call on you for this, but this is a lot of stuff in here. Greg, are you able, I know you guys are into this. Are you able to decipher and put this in layman's terms, what we're saying here? You gotta unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm reading this. This is quite a bit. The position we took with the ASNs was largely around just the ASN itself, taking that to be accurate. This seems to go quite a bit further in several different directions. Really, it is a hard read, actually.
Okay. Thanks for your input. What I wanted to add to this, I think we need to clarify with John what exactly he's getting at here. Was Greg is one of the folks in this group, but a couple weeks ago, we got together on a call with a bunch of different companies, all using or that want to use ASNs. And I'm going to craft up a document that is stating all of our joint concerns with ASN functionality, because this, whatever this means specifically, is likely only one of the 10 things that don't function well about ASNs. And so if folks are really going to start using ASNs in TWL, especially in CSD, where we can no longer have modifications to fix some of this stuff, there needs to be more than one little thing changed. There needs to be a whole bunch of stuff. So if you use ASNs or you want to explore it and you want to get involved in those discussions, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be sure you're included in that group. Like I said, we're at the phase now where we're just going to start documenting what all the functionality is and the shortcomings are. This would likely be included in it. And then we want to get that back into an enhancement request and bring that up to Infor and say, it's not just one thing about ASNs. If you want us to be able to use it, you got to fix all 10 of these things.
Andrew, this is Greg. Do you or Gord, does anybody know what those numbers are? Like SI224, is that some kind of specification for Virginia Air or some kind of ICS work order? Does anybody know what those numbers are? Those characters are?
I don't, but saying licensee makes me think it's a company.
Oh, okay. So this is a collaboration of companies.
Yeah, it might be. But we can reach out to John at Virginia Air as well and see if he might have something similar going on where he's talked to a bunch of his peers as well. I think they're HVAC, right? So maybe he's got a bunch of HVAC companies that are all together saying, yeah, we want to use this functionality too, but all this stuff needs to be changed to make it usable.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's what we had on the docket for today. Hopefully you were in there reading through and voting. As you can see, like these are the columns in here and these don't have a great deal of votes. If I turn this off, these are what is happening on the SX.e side, right? So those folks are getting a lot more votes. Again, I think Gord made a great point. The TWL community is certainly smaller than the overall SX community, but still Infor needs to see some numbers on here. If we just put in enhancement requests and the only person that votes from is the person that enters them, it's not really going to get too much traction, right? So this is the part that we need to play, and hopefully kind of setting time aside right now helps you just get it done. What do you got, Gord?
Yeah, we got the word from Tony Kennedy. Thank you, Gloria. It is 10. The minimum is 10. So we're We're not there on any of them that are in there now. And actually, Andy, while you're in that screen, can you hit the load all button? You'll notice you've only got 1,000 up. The only way, and I discovered this the other day when I was looking for the ones from the summer, the only way to bring up the ones that I could figure out from earlier was to load all. And then you still click your product. So you'll click TWL twice, the 2, and then you'll see the ones that we reviewed in July. But those are sitting back there in that bucket of time. But many are still lacking on votes. So I encourage everybody on this call to go back, and especially if you weren't around in July, give them a read. We're all in this together type of thing. So if you want to put an ER in and get votes, then help others get their votes. And yeah, unless it's really going to break the system, don't reject it just because you're angry at ASNs. You think they're stupid or something. But there's lots of good stuff in there. I got to thinking too on when you reviewed the ones to do with the physical inventory. This is beyond the mandate of an ER webinar, but I'll just mention it. Best practices as one evolves through warehouse management systems is to use what they're so great at, and that's the cycle count engine, and move away from a physical count. So if anybody's out there still doing a physical count, I know when my company switched to the WMS, we run TWL, we flipped when we went from shims to SX.e, we went and put TWL right away in, but we didn't move away from a physical count. And it was 2 whole years that we did physical counts the TWL way, which is a lot better than doing them on the paper way, but it's still a lot of work. And our inventory accuracy was what it was. And then when we went to the cycle count system driven by ABCD velocity logic, we've seen, as many companies see, an increase in our ongoing inventory accuracy, better use of resources, all that good stuff, and no gosh darn physical inventory variance reports. So that's just a little take of my own that I would share. Does anybody have any other, as we've gone through this, comments about either the ERs themselves or how how this has gone? We've got very thick skin, Andy and me. We live on the coast. It's salt air and high winds and cold winter. So if you have any feedback for us, feel free to share it. Feel free to email, reach out to us afterward. It's funny times this year where this is how we get to see each other. So at least we can definitely don't be a stranger. But yeah, I put it out again to anyone who might have been holding back. We don't bite. There's no silly questions, no silly comments. Just be respectful.
Guys, I think this big one on the ASN, maybe if we can broker a specific, call just on that with these other companies. And, I invited my warehouse manager to this call. He didn't come, but, I think on that one he'd come, it's probably that important. So I don't know if it's worth it, but I think if we focused on that one, and it's big enough that it would probably take enough time, we might get more and the right people on it. And then I think we could get that vote count up too,
That's a great idea. And we're always looking for those kinds of topics, sort of a specific thing that we can sink our teeth into. And we could promote that on the forum, Greg.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll talk to Gary and Gloria about doing something, if we can fit something informally through TUG. Otherwise, we're happy to just keep gathering folks and doing something off to the side as well. All right, I'm good if you guys are good. I got nothing more to add.
I don't hear or see anybody putting anything out extra.
I think wrap us up.
Yeah. Gloria, I'll turn it over to you. I cut you off the last time. I told you I wouldn't do it again. Oh, you're muted, sweetheart.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, just had to pull things over a little bit, wrap things up, close things out. You know how that goes. First of all, I want to say a big thank you to Andy and Gord for being here today, along with each one of you that have joined us. And we just had a great day. We concluded a noon program for Facts Friday, jumped into this. We've got programming again next week. So watch your inbox because we've got a lot of great content that continues to come your way. In addition, I'd like to also say that if you've not opened your mailbox yet today, there's a chairman's note that came through with tremendous news for the upcoming 2021 year. So make sure that you look and keep an eye on all those things. We'll keep the forums highlighted. And as TUG members, just a quick reminder, if you still have additional questions, post them to the TUG members forum and on the appropriate board to continue this ongoing dialogue. And for those of you who are not yet members, please visit www.theusergroup.org and join us. And on that note, as they say in Hollywood, folks, that's a wrap.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Gloria. Thanks, everyone. Bye.